Springs Mountain Road, and then the continuation for the Verizon cell tower. I would like to take these items a little bit out of order. The Verizon cell tower did not submit any new materials this evening, so I'd like to start with the Verizon cell tower because I think all we're going to do is carry that over to the next meeting. So, Noreen, is that correct? The applicant had asked they needed more time to submit the required documents. So we have nothing new to look at this month. And this is a continuation of the public hearing for that application. And if there's nothing further to be discussed at this time, then we just carry this meeting over to next month.
Yeah, we can carry it over. I see Scott Olson is on the call. Scott, is that accurate? You're looking to just have it put over to the next meeting for continuation so you can get your visual analysis in?
Exactly. Unfortunately, because of the complexity of that analysis, it has taken some time. It's almost ready, but it just wasn't going to be ready by the deadline. So we will have it submitted probably within the next week or so. So we're hoping to be on then your September agenda.
Okay, and the September meeting is on September 22nd, and the submittal deadline for that is actually September 1st, which is next Monday, believe it or not.
We'll get that in before that deadline.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mike, just one thing on the Verizon side of it. I just wanted to, apprise the board of something that I was looking at. I went back and I read and reread the Senator Skoufis letter, and I did reach out to his office by the contacts that were on the letter to just have a conversation or see if they wanted to have a conversation to kind of, come up to speed with what we were doing on this. And my main concern from the letter after I read it was, that it didn't appear to me that he really had a good handle on, what the project was and what he was opposing. And, I really just wanted to reach out to his office and see if, I called, no answer, not even a voicemail. And I sent a mail message on his website, and I haven't gotten any return from them. So, I just wanted to kind of report that back to you that I had done that, and I haven't heard anything back from him. But I reread the letter, and I have some concerns about that letter, and I kind of wanted to, have a chat with them about that. So I just kind of wanted to report that back to you.
Okay. Did you leave them a message that, we have these ongoing public hearings on the matter?
Yeah, in the mail message, I stated who I was and what I was, sending you a message on. And, the things that, I went back through the letter. Obviously, it's a letter in opposition. And so I wanted to understand a little bit more from his point of view. Now, Dave, I don't know is that appropriate for me to be reaching out, or should I be doing that in a more official?
I think it's fine because it's, all information that you get and that you want to rely on needs to be part of the public record. So the fact that you're reaching out, it's good that you're putting it on the public record. I mean, the public hearing remains open. And if you got any further information from him, positive or negative,
right,
it's important to just report that back to the board. And there's no requirement that you do that, but, certainly there's no prohibition against contacting someone who's expressed an opposition to understand do they have an understanding of what they're opposing and on what grounds, so you can report that back or invite them back to explain the grounds further. It's no problem.
Right. And my concern was that he was responding to several of the residents at Meadow Glen calling his office and being in opposition, which is fine. I would encourage the public to always rely on their elected officials to help them in situations like this. But as I'm reading through the letter more, it appears to me that he has absolutely no idea, what about anything with this application. He's just responding, to residents, which is fine. But I think it's kind of, a little irresponsible on his part not to make a phone call to anybody on the board or the town or, or even to contact us in any way and do, just any sort of investigative, research into what the actual application is. In the end, he might actually oppose it, which is fine, but, I get concerned when we have politicians that kind of weigh in, without getting all the information on a particular, case. I don't even know if he knows, he says he viewed the location of 40 and a half Bar Lane, but viewed it what? Did he go there? Does he know that it's not part of the residential neighborhood? Does he know it's owned by Harriman and there's a water tower there? Does he know that the HOA had, sold an easement to Verizon granting access to it? I don't know if he's aware of all these things. And, I just get concerned when, politicians weigh in on these things without looking at it. He even mentions at the end that he supports expanding cell coverage and mentions problem areas in Harriman State Park, which have absolutely nothing to do with what we're considering. So, I just wanted to voice my opinion that, I was a little disappointed in the letter and a little disappointed, in the fact that he didn't respond at all back to me with any information. So, obviously we're here, we're willing to, have conversations with them. And, I just wanted to kind of, put that as part of the public record. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter, for reaching out and trying to check back with them and see what their real issues are. All right, so with that, I guess there's no new information being provided tonight on the Verizon application. And as I said, we can carry this over to our September 22nd meeting. Dave, is there anything going on with the shot clock that we need to be updated on?
No, just Scott Olson and I exchanged correspondence, signed correspondence agreeing to extend the shot clock through, I forget the date, but it's in November. So
Okay.
There's plenty of time. The shot clock is not an issue right now, but we'll all continue to work diligently.
Okay. So with that, I would like to just carry this over to the next regularly scheduled ZBA meeting of September 22nd at 7:30 p.m. Anybody who's online now who's listening in for this public hearing, it's being extended, and this is the only notification of that extension that will go out. Scott, I want to thank you for, continuing to follow up with us and to be here tonight just to report back. And if there's nothing else on this matter, I'd like to move along to the next. Any further questions or comments?
No.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a nice night.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
You too.
So now, moving back to the first item on our agenda. The first item is a new public hearing. It's for J6 Construction. It's for a series of 3 parcels located off of Cooper Street, Scott Road, and so that's up in the Walton Lake area in the town of Monroe. The applicant is before the board tonight to open up their public hearing. The variance that they're looking for is a 280A variance. That's, a request to construct new housing on an unimproved town road. So with that brief introduction, I'd like to turn the floor over to Tom Depew, who's here tonight, I guess, to speak on part of J6 Construction.
Yes. First, Mr. Depew, before you go, we should have a motion to open the public hearing.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah,
And also, Austin is on. He just,
Oh,
he
yeah,
has a
there
bad connection. He's been here.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I
So
make a
then,
motion to open a public hearing.
anybody want to second that?
I'll
Austin
second
said,
it.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who is the second? I can't hear.
Well, Austin did.
Thank you. Anybody who is not speaking right now for the board, can you please mute yourself until you're called upon? There's too much feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Noreen. Okay. So we've taken that formality care of, and the next step is I would like to have the applicant make a presentation to the board and the public who's here tonight to listen to this application as to, you know, what it is you're proposing to construct and what are the variances you're seeking.
Okay, I'm Tom DePue with DePue Engineering. J6 Construction is looking to, or is requesting a 280A on 3 lots. 2 of them are on Scott Street and 1 of them is on Hillside Avenue. Basically, we had been in front of the planning board and done a lot line change. There was 3 existing lots out there. What we had done was change the lot sizes so they were more equal in size for each one of them. So as I indicated, 2 of them are on Scott Street, so they'll gain their access to Scott Street, and the other one is on Hillside, and they'll gain their access to Hillside Avenue. Additionally, the 3 houses will have connection to a central sewer system, which will come down and tie into the sanitary sewer on Cooper Street, and each of the individual lots will be serviced by an individual well. Now, we had this project, well, this land had been in front of the ZBA once before for 288, but that's when it was 5 lots. Now, I had submitted all that information into the board just for their review to see what had previously gone on. Additionally, I know I saw that there was a comment from the public. I had talked to the applicant that he is supposed to enter into a highway maintenance agreement, which I know he had gone to an attorney, but I don't know what happened to that. So I don't know if he's on the line, if he could comment on that, or I guess he didn't call in. Okay.
J6 Construction's on.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Just unmuted.
Oh,
Hello.
okay.
This is Eric Helm with J6 Construction.
Yeah.
How you doing? We had submitted that earlier when we were in front of the planning board. I guess we didn't get a new one out, but it's the same thing. I mean, we're willing to join any maintenance agreement that the neighborhood has or wants to be involved in.
Okay. I know we had a preliminary one. John at the time was going to go around and try to get everybody to sign in on it. So I don't know where that got dropped, but that was, it wasn't really a requirement of the planning board, but it was something that they were agreed to do. So, so basically what we're looking for is for these 2 lots to be granted a 288 to be constructed on a non-town road.
Right. The RMA, there was a resident that made comments about that there was an RMA, there was agreement to do it, but it wasn't done. Is the RMA something that this is all contingent upon happening with? Like this?
The road maintenance agreement?
Yeah, is that?
Yeah.
Is that
It wasn't
something?
a requirement of the subdivision. However, they did agree to do it. So, and I know they had started out making an effort to do it, but I guess it didn't get done. So, I mean, I just wanted to bring that up because that was part of the verbal agreement when we were in front of the planning board.
Right, but is that something we have to have in place before we approve this variance?
Can I comment on that?
1 minute, just as lawyer to the board. Technically, what I see is we've got, there was the prior variance that was granted in 2009 for the other configuration of the lots. And there were 5 conditions to the grant of that variance. One of them was, number 1 was that you have to improve Scott Street and Hillside pursuant to those 2006, 2008 plans. Number 2 was erosion and sedimentation. And then 3 was that the applicant shall prepare a road maintenance agreement for Scott Street and Hillside Avenue, subject to review and approval of the town attorney, and with some other details. And then if you go to what happened more recently at the planning board, when the configuration changed back, I guess, from the 5 lot to the 3 lot, and the lot line change was granted, the approval, the resolution of approval for the planning board in August 2019 states as one of the specific conditions, paragraph 6 is that all conditions attached to the grant of the variance issued by the zoning board, copy attached, referring back to the 2009 variance, are made a part of this approval, and it is subject to the same as if those conditions were set forth here in at length. So I'm not 100% sure the planning board, you know, was thinking about the idea of there being a different configuration, but certainly in regard to the road maintenance agreement, the planning board is imposing all these conditions by reference. So the answer is, because of the wording of the planning board resolution, I do think it has to be, it may not have to be in place, but it's got to be submitted. It can be subject to and can be conditioned upon, you know, the execution of one that's submitted to me for, you know, for approval.
Right.
So I don't know if that answers the question. It's a long-winded way of answering the question. I apologize.
Okay. What? Yeah. Okay.
One of the questions I have is that, you know, the previous variance was granted along with the development plan for the roadway. And now, as I understand it, you want to make no improvements to the roadway and get three lots for new access rather than the previous 5. You know, I just don't know that aspect of the condition of the road has been addressed yet. Because, you know, I did take a site visit out there. The roadway is a 10-foot wide gravel road. I don't know that we have heard back from the highway superintendent on what his position is on the condition of that roadway.
Could I speak on that for a minute? Eric from J6.
Hey,
Eric, can we have your last name?
It's Eric Kelm, K-E-L-M.
who has control of the Zoom meeting? Mike, who has control of the Zoom meeting?
Are you?
David.
Oh, okay. Because there's somebody on here that's clearly not supposed to be on here.
Is it okay for me to speak? No?
I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah. Okay, that one's gone. Okay. I think we're all set. Yep, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. We went through the planning, and the reason that we dropped down from 5 lots to 3 lots was because the neighbors, I want to say all of them, if it wasn't all of them, it was most of them, came out and opposed to any improvements on the road. Every one of them was worried they were losing part of their yard, their bushes. It was hours and hours of stories of everyone, what they were going to lose if we widened the roads to what the town wanted us to do. The planning board actually convinced us to drop it down to 3 lots and told us that we wouldn't have to do the improvements and it would work out better because the neighborhood doesn't want the improvements. We've done that and we thought we were done. And we did it by being convinced by the planning board to do so. So that to appease the neighbors who didn't want the improvements, and the roads widened. And now because I know you're kind of putting it forward as if we don't want to do the improvements. At 3 lots now, we really can't afford to do the improvements. At 5 lots, we were willing to do the improvements, but we went through meeting after meeting of multiple people coming out and saying they don't want the improvements. And here we sit, we dropped it down to 5 lots. We were told that we wouldn't have to do the improvements and that it could go forward with the 3 lots. So it's really putting us in a difficult situation. It's a lot of time going by, and we're trying to do what the neighborhood wanted, and now we're stuck. And it seems like now the town doesn't want it, but the planning board convinced us to do it.
Yeah, well, with all due respect, I mean, you know, both roads are very small and very narrow. It's not a matter of whether the neighbors are want you to make the improvements or not. Really, the driving decision here is going to be, you know, what is the highway superintendent's opinion on the condition of the road, whether or not new parcels should be added to the road. I'm not saying, you know, I'm not sitting here dictating that you should take that 10-foot wide gravel path and make it, you know, 20 feet wide and put gutters on both sides and proper drainage. I don't recall what was in the previous subdivision plan for roadway improvements, but maybe there's some intermediate improvement that's necessary here, you know, to satisfy the conditions of the highway superintendent. And
At the last meeting, we were going to, I thought that the highway superintendent was going to be reached out to by the town and see what he thought what the situation was. Did that happen?
I had reached out to him. We were trying to get a meeting together before this, but it didn't happen. So I was reaching out to him and McCooey Hauser and Etzel Engineering to see if we could meet out in the field. We had met out in the field when we were in front of the planning board. At that time, everybody would be satisfied, but we can meet again and walk the two roads and go over it again. I don't have a problem with that, but we had previously met out there.
Well, I mean, if there are minutes from that prior meeting or a letter from the highway superintendent that says, you know, he's okay with the proposal as it is, then you know, then we can move forward on that. But I mean, if there's nothing in the record here about the condition of the road, the only thing I can tell you is what I've seen for myself out there. It's a very narrow, it's a 10-foot wide, it's hard compacted gravel road, I'll give you that. And a portion of it is paved, but not in front of either of these three lots.
Well, I think the one on Hillside
Scott Street,
Avenue.
not paved at all, and Hillside is paved like just up to where your property begins.
I think right up to where our actually where our driveway, I think, shows it coming in.
Shows it, yeah.
So again, Dave McCartney as the attorney, was it, I don't have your name on, is it Eric?
Yes.
J6?
Yes.
Eric, so I hear what you're saying and the board hears what you're saying about what happened at the planning board. And I sympathize with you because I know it sounds like you feel like you're in a bit of a whipsaw because you're told one thing and then you get here and you're asked about this. But part of the problem is that I go back to that paragraph 6 of the conditions of the planning board. It seems to say the exact opposite of what you're saying here. Whether that's intentional or not, I don't know, because it's definitely requiring this board to, or it's stating that all the conditions of the prior grant of the variance remain in full force and effect. And the number one condition in that prior variance grant was that all those improvements set forth in those specific plans dated 06 and 08 shall be performed. So the message that this board is getting through paper from the planning board is the opposite of what you're telling us that the message that you got from the planning board was. So I think at the end of the day, this board retains jurisdiction over whether to grant the 280A variance or not, and if so, on what conditions.
Right.
So I think at the end of the day, Chairman Murphy has it right. I think we need to hear from the highway superintendent and look at it. We just can't take what you're saying as true because it's opposite of what's on the paper. So I think the board needs to hear and have that meeting.
We are David.
I can't tell. Whoever's doing that is getting in and out, and I can't control it or kick them out fast enough. So
Yeah.
Everybody just have some patience. If I can, I'll try. But anyway, sorry, Eric, and I'm sorry to use your first name. It's all I caught.
It's okay.
No, that's the issue.
I think the mistake was made by the planning board. I think they wanted us to have the highway maintenance agreement, so they just took the rest of it out of context. So because there's no way we can apply the 2008 drawings to the project that we have in front of the ZBA. So I don't have a problem with setting up a meeting with the highway super. We'll walk the road again. I was going to have the planning board engineer come out too, and we can go over any issues. And then the other thing is I'll get J6 to get the road maintenance agreement together and get it submitted in, so it's in an acceptable format.
Would it work? I mean, if we were to have the meeting with the highway superintendent the town engineer and get that road maintenance agreement, and we submit that, and everything works out with that, could we submit that to you and move forward without another meeting and holding us up another month?
My first impression is no. You know, that we have to have our ducks in a row here before we move forward. There's too many conditions to that approval to go in that direction, because there may be outcomes that are unanticipated. If you are setting up a meeting with the highway superintendent and the planning board engineer, please advise this board of when that meeting is so that we may attend it. We're not saying you can't hold the meeting without us, but if we're available, some of the board members might want to be there.
Okay.
Can I comment now?
Reopen this up, Mike, to the public?
Yeah, I guess if we've gone over, you know, all the technical discussions that we're going to have on this between the applicant and the board members, we can now open the discussion up to the public.
Thank you.
Please state your name and address so that our secretary can record that for the record. Thank you.
My name is Sally Adams. I live at 7 Hillside Avenue. I wanted to clarify a couple things that have been brought up. First of all, it's been a year now since the meeting with the planning board when Mr. Depew and J6 Construction were advised that they needed to get the road maintenance agreement working. The neighbors presented, I presented for the neighbors what we would agree to, but it wasn't in legal terms. There were no whereases or pursuant tos or anything like that. It was just, we'll do this, 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 and we want this, this, and this from the cooperating members on the street. And like I said, it's been a year and we've heard nothing back at all, even though there was the instruction from the planning board to get a legalized version of what we proposed distributed to the neighbors so we could get this thing over with. I mean, I understand how J6 Construction, regardless of what name they're going by, because we've been doing this with several different corporation names, it seems. They're frustrated because it's taking so long. We're frustrated. We'd like to make some improvements ourselves, but with the constant fear of large construction equipment tearing up whatever improvements we do make, we just keep putting it off because we're waiting for the road maintenance agreement. We're waiting for things to get finalized too. We've tried. I met with Mr. Depew. I invited him to my house. That was back in December of 2015. Gave him the neighbor's version of what we would accept at that time, which was then a 5-lot subdivision, I believe. Never got back to us on that. So it's been very frustrating. And we don't really understand why, when we've reached out, we keep getting blamed for being petty. Yeah, we're wondering what would have happened to our shrubs if the road was widened from 14 feet to 26. Yeah, that's a lot of property to take away. And in particular, the neighbors at 8 Hillside would have lost about half their driveway, and it would have impinged on their well had the proposed expansion of the road gone through. And Mr. Edsel seemed to feel that after going round and round on this, that maybe the board had to make an exception, at least for Hillside. I don't know about Scott. To meet the 26 feet or 28 feet requirement for the road width and all the other things because of what would have happened to the structures that have been in place for years, infrastructures as well as plantings. So that became the improvements that J6 Construction, previously known as Scott Street Development, were willing to do, became a moot point. I don't know how to phrase that, whether it was a field visit projection or what it was, but anyway, it was going to be allowed that the improvements that had been talked about did not have to be made. The road could stay the way it was, and J6 could continue with the development of their properties once the road maintenance agreement was done. Another question I have at this time, though, is that I understand at the workshop meeting that was brought up that there would be easements through the properties. I don't really understand that. I don't know if that's an easement to allow the heavy construction equipment to go through Scott Street to Hillside instead of coming up Hillside to that one lot, or what the easements are for, but I would appreciate to have that clarified. That's it.
The easement question's a planning board question, Mike?
Well,
Okay, we're gonna go on hold for a moment. Background.
Trying to remove that person. All right, I think I got it.
There's still one David there.
Still one day.
There is.
Yeah.
Are you able to auto mute everybody, or because if they come back on and they're muted, we won't hear them at least.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can mute all, but I'm not sure if I can at this point with my iPad, if I have the wherewithal to stop them completely. But I've removed that person with instructions to not allow him back in, so he could sign on a different account and get back on, but not under that one.
Okay. Thank you, David.
So, sorry.
I could answer the easement. I think the easements we were discussing were, we had a sanitary sewer easement that ran through the two lower lots to service the upper lot. That's so we didn't have to dig up Hillside Avenue to put the sewer in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Miss Sally, I guess, question. Miss Adams, do you think you've come up with an appropriate road maintenance agreement? Do you think everybody's in agreement? You're just looking to get that finalized?
Hillside Avenue neighbors are in agreement with it. The current residents, the holdup was J6 construction.
Okay. Then what about Scott? Who would be responsible for?
We're separate from Scott Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They apparently already have a road maintenance agreement with Scott Street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I know Sally, I had given all that information to John from J6, and I know he had given it to an attorney, so I don't know where it, left off. So I'll check with them and see where it's at.
It has been a year.
I know, it's been a year. I know.
Duva.
I think we know what Duva's gonna do.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak on this application, J6? Okay. Do the board members have any additional questions at this time?
I mean, that's.
No, I think the couple issues we should highlight as to what we think we need, but then I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the one thing that we've discussed is we need to hear back from the highway superintendent that Tom is going to schedule a site visit with them.
Yep.
And the other outstanding item is the roadway maintenance agreements.
Maintenance
And,
agreement.
and do I understand it that there's actually two separate agreements because
Oh,
there's two
dude.
separate roadways and different parties involved?
I believe we were trying to get it into one, but I think in the end, we were going to do two separate. That's what we were going to do.
Okay. Okay, so that being the case, what's the likelihood that you could have all of these items resolved prior to our next meeting?
What's the deadline date?
Noreen?
Is it a week?
Sorry, I couldn't get my computer unmuted. Submittal date is September 1st for a meeting of September 22nd.
September 1st?
Okay with
That's a Monday.
the board? Monday seems strange.
Yeah, that seems
Yeah.
weird.
Seems like it
No,
should
it's
be
a
the 8th.
Tuesday. September 1st is a Tuesday.
Yeah, our meeting next month is kind of early.
It's always the fourth Tuesday of the month.
Yeah, I understand, but just by date wise, it's kind of 22nd just seems early.
Yeah,
it
no,
worked
I
out.
know.
That's what makes the August 1st deadline seem early.
So what's it, 3 weeks in advance?
Yeah,
Okay.
Is there any,
unless the board grants an extension on the time for you to get it back to me.
I mean, would you think an extra week would help, Tom?
I think it would, mainly to get a meeting together with the highway super. And I'll talk to John about the highway maintenance agreement.
Hold on. David, they're coming in on the Monroe now.
Yeah, I know. I'm working on it.
Mike Murphy also has disappeared.
Yeah, I saw that.
I wonder if we're gonna have to find a new platform for this or hire
Yeah.
someone to like get rid of these people. I don't know. We need to get somebody from this company on the phone to figure out how to troubleshoot this.
We might have to go to, I might have to go to the other format, the, not the meeting format, the webinar format.
Yeah, that's the way the planning board is running.
Yeah,
So they have more control and who's coming in.
yeah. I
mean,
don't
even as
see,
a public meeting, can we do something like that? Can we control who comes in?
the webinar gives you, I've not used the webinar. I know my partner Brian uses the webinar all the time now. It gives him more control. So I'm probably going to have to change my account and move over to that. We've been pretty good ever since a few months ago with the one, the first Verizon meeting. But do we see
Mike's not back on yet.
Mike's not back yet, right?
No, it seems there's still a Monroe one on, I see.
Yeah, kill that
Yeah.
one.
I'm trying. It's
Yeah.
sometimes when I go to remove, it doesn't remove it. I don't know if there's a setting that the individual has that's blocking my ability to remove or
Yeah,
not.
Mike's texting me, he got bumped off.
Let me see if I can.
He's trying to get back in.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't bump Mike out and permanently ban him.
Oh, that would not be good.
Sorry, Mike. I'm going to try to invite him back in. Oh, there he is. Oh, no, that's not him.
I'm going to take this moment to step away for just 1 second.
Yeah.
He's having an internet connection issue now.
You could tell him I just sent him another an invite by email, just in case I kicked him off by accident before. I don't think I did, but in my haste to get rid of the other disruption, I might have hit the wrong button.
I think you might give him the options to come in by phone if he's blocked by internet. So at least something.
Sent him the message that you sent him. No, that's. He's trying.
Looks like we're gonna have another 2 a.m. meeting.
No,
No, don't say that.
I'm gonna put you on that ship and send you out to sea.
Oh my God. My wife and kids are gonna kill me. Actually, probably the opposite. They're probably happy to have me down here. Yeah, no, 2 a.m.'s fine. You're good. Yeah, so Mike's having a connectivity issue. He said everybody froze up and he's trying to reboot and log back on. He's going to try it once, and if he can't get on, he's going to call in by phone.
Okay. Hmm.
Good evening. Mike Murphy calling back in.
Hi, Mike.
Hello, Noreen.
We just thought you didn't want to be here all night with us.
No, this was supposed to be a short meeting.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
I apologize.
Oh, no. I might be gone. There we go.
Oh, you're there.
All of a sudden, my screen went blank. I was like, oh, no.
I didn't kick anybody out this time, I swear. All right, so where do we leave off? J6, we were just about finishing up with J6, right?
Right. We were making a list of what needed to be done before, excuse me, the next meeting.
We were going to consider an extension to give them some time to get it in. Is that
Right.
Yeah,
So
we're gonna.
right now it's September 1st. The holiday is September 7th. Do we want to give them till September 8th?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Is the applicant
Have
okay
that-
with that? Is that enough time?
Yeah, that should give us enough time. We'll have the meeting and then we'll get the highway maintenance agreement in place.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate your
Okay.
cooperation.
All right.
Okay, so this meeting will be kept open.
Okay,
and-
thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay,
And we'll continue it on September 22nd at 7:30 p.m.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the only notice that will go out to the public, so please be aware. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks,
okay.
Tom.
Have a good night.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the last item on the agenda. 285 Seven Springs and Mountain Road. This item is a continuation of a public hearing that was opened last month. Is the applicant here tonight?
Yes, Joel Mann is there on behalf of the applicant.
Okay. Joel, do you want to update us on what kind of progress you made since our last meeting with regard to the neighbors and the drainage pipes and
Sure. Okay, so basically at the last meeting, about two neighbors came up with an issue. One neighbor is Mr. Bruno. He lives behind this house, and I don't remember his address.
Excuse me, sorry.
Okay, and there was another neighbor. So they have some multiple issues with some drainage going over the property. We had a meeting on, I believe it was on August 10. We came basically to a conclusion at that meeting, actually, Bruno has agreed that if an engineer will give a letter that the way we did it is sufficient, then he will be satisfied. We just received that letter, I believe it was today. It was delayed from AFR Engineering. We had John Locke there from AFR. He gave us he was on the site. He gave us a letter that basically what we did is a 6-inch pipe, perforated pipe located within the gravel trench should be sufficient. And actually he watched one storm during when this was installed. And I got a message back today from Mr. Bruno. He's actually unavailable to come to the meeting, but either way, he's not going to come. He's satisfied with that. This basically addresses his issues. And the other neighbor had an issue with his retaining wall. Actually, he agreed at the meeting that it doesn't have nothing with this property, but we actually, from goodwill, we told him that once we're back on the site, we'll probably have an excavator help him out with install some of the stones back in this place. And you can see basically at that meeting, no one came to the meeting because they are all okay. So with that, I hope that we can move on and get us the final approval.
And yeah, Joel, just a quick question. Mike and I went out to the property. I don't know, when did we go out there, Mike?
I think it was August 1st.
Yeah, we went out at the beginning of August, and there were already pipes that were laid underneath Mr. Bruno's driveway back then.
Correct. His problem was, so basically going back history, a couple years ago, I don't know the dates exactly, he gave permission already to the previous owner to go through with the pipe through his property.
Right.
Whereas with the single pipe, this was just for the, I believe it was the footing drains, because originally the footing drain is supposed to be pumped up. He gave a permission to go through his property, so we were able to do it with gravity. When the new owner took over, he came back that there was a promise from the previous owner to put in some type of pipes to prevent the water from going over that property, even though it's nothing what we have created, but with the goodwill that the neighbors working together, they have agreed to do something to fix the drainage issue. What happened is at the meeting, the neighbors with the owner came up one way, but in fact, they did it a different way. And that's made Mr. Bruno upset. That's the reason he came to the last meeting.
Right.
So we met again after I wasn't involved in the details with the previous meeting. So I took the lead on that. We had a meeting and Bruno agreed that if an engineer will give a letter, then he's satisfied with what has been done. So that's what happened. We got the letter from AFR. He received the letter today and he's fine now.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because he seemed upset that he thought that things were done without his permission, but I guess he would have had to.
Okay. The other thing was that while they did one of the pipes, they did a third pipe. So there's like three issues. The footing drains is just the water going off the property, and there is the roof leaders. So while the excavator did fix the problem with the drainage going off this property, he put in a third pipe for the roof drains.
Okay.
And he didn't, somehow there was a miscommunication. He didn't told it from Mr. Bruno that he's going to do it. But the fact of the matter is he did it to help out Mr. Bruno, so to prevent the water from the roof going over his property.
Right.
So he got upset with that.
Okay.
But we had a meeting and now I believe everyone is satisfied.
Okay.
Okay, so when we were out there, we did see the three pipes. You're telling me one is for a future roof drain, one is for the footing drains, and the third pipe is for the curtain drain that was put in on the side of the property to keep the runoff from Mr. Bruno's driveway.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yep.
Joel, are you talking the letter? Is that the letter that Heskel sent to me today from the engineer?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, I sent that out to everybody's email this afternoon.
Yeah, I read it.
Okay, I just wanted to
saw
make
that letter
sure.
from John Locke.
Right. Okay, so it sounds like you resolved all the issues with the neighbors.
Yes.
That's very neighborly.
I'm always in that being that representing property owners with planning and
Right.
I'm always involved in that. And I'm trying the best I can.
Sure.
Well, Joel, we appreciate you, taking the extra month and working this out with the neighbors to get them to be in agreement with it. I wish Mr. Bruno was here tonight because the last meeting he asked us, well, when was the last time you granted a variance or 5 variances to a lot in the town of Monroe? And it turned out to be the very next item on the agenda had 5 variances for a lot in the town of Monroe, and they received their variance. So, point being is when it is a small lot that's undersized within a zoning district, oftentimes it does take 5 variances to bring things into compliance.
Right.
Everything's a variance.
Yep.
I think there is a provision. I didn't check that again, but I think there is a provision in the code about undersized lots that even for side yards that you don't need variances. But here, actually, I don't think we ask for a variance on the side yards. I don't know.
Okay. So are there any members in the public that would like to speak on this topic?
No, nobody's on other than
I
us.
think this is the least amount of people we've ever had at a Zoom moment.
I think you're right.
Okay, so that being said, are there any further questions from the board members?
I'm good.
I have no questions or comments. This is Austin's side. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Austin. All right.
You need a motion to close the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for 7 Springs Mountain Road.
This is Kevin Scully. I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. So, thank you, Mr. Mann. We've just closed the public hearing. Now, David, do we have a resolution drafted on this?
No, I don't have one ready, but we can, you know, if you can, you could vote and I could put one together that would just memorialize the vote.
Okay. Yeah, I unfortunately don't have all my papers in front of me, so I can't recite all the variances required here.
I have my notes in front of me, and maybe Joel can correct me if I'm wrong. My notes show that there's 5 variances requested. By the way, I think all of which were previously granted in 2015, just with different bulk requirements because of the change in the code, the intervening change in the code. So I think I have lot area where it's 0.66 of an acre provided, 1 acre is required. We have lot coverage, 20% is provided, 15% is the max permitted. Rear yard provided is 26 feet and permitted, the required minimum is 60. Front yard, I wrote 50/37, and I think 50 is required. And I think it's 37 because of the issue of the presumption that the county had taken 25 feet from the center of the roadway. So technically it's 37 feet on the front yard that's provided, where 50 feet is required. And the final one is parking in the front yard. Joel, is that your understanding? Do I have the numbers right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest is you can discuss the 5 factors as applied to all of this. And one of the things you should also consider, because there's a prior grant of the variances, usually there's, I'm not going to call it a presumption, but there's it enjoys a different status in the law where you have, one of the things you have to look at if you were going to deviate and deny it is there an intervening change in circumstances? And that could be 2 things. It could be changes in the facts and physical surroundings and other things at the premises itself, changes in environmental conditions. One of them obviously is an intervening change in the code. So we do have a change in the code. So one of the things you should discuss, are there any intervening facts, physical, environmental facts that would warrant a different result this go around? And then otherwise just look at the 5 factors and then you can entertain a motion to grant or deny the variances.
Okay. So starting with the first item is will undesirable change be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties be created? Anybody on the board have any issues with that?
I would say no, because it's an existing structure.
Right. It's already there. It does, you know, match with the rest of the residential nature of the neighborhood. So I would agree with you there, Pete. Whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method which is feasible for the applicant to pursue but would not require a variance.
No.
Not really, no.
Yeah, it's an undersized lot, and it's, you know, there's nothing more we could do about it. Whether the requested area variance is substantial. Now, you know, we went over the list that there are 5 area variances being requested here. But, you know, my feeling is, given the way the house looks on the lot, it fits in with the rest of the neighborhood. You know, the lot area actually comes more into compliance with the update in the zoning. Used to be a 3-acre zone, it's now a 1-acre zone. So, you know, it's the existing property is 0.66 acres. So they brought it more into compliance than it was before.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agree.
Okay. Okay, so item 4, whether the proposed variance will have adverse effect or impact on the physical environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. And I think we've talked through that one fairly substantially with the neighbors last month with regard to the drainage conditions out there. And also, as Peter had mentioned, Peter and I were both out at the lot back on August 1st, and I thought that there's nothing detrimental that this lot is doing to the surrounding properties. Actually, the rebuilding of the lot probably cleared up a lot of the nuisance issues that were out there previously, such as, the old septic system used to be right next to the property line where the driveway is, and probably had seepage coming out of that wall. So in that respect, there's a new septic system that's been installed on the property. There's a new well. There's a new house up there. The impervious footprint that's created out there is slightly larger than what the lot coverage is prescribed to be. But I think part of that is because the lot is smaller than it needs to be also. The house is not overly enormous. The driveways that have been built are not, they stuck to what was existing out there previously. So, in my opinion, through the installation of the curtain drain across the property, they actually have mitigated any environmental conditions that were out there with respect to drainage across this lot and onto the neighboring roadways.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I was there today, and it looked fine to me.
Okay. And that was Kevin?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and last item, whether an alleged difficulty is self-created.
And
Actually,
well,
I don't know on that one. Usually it's yes, but I'm not sure.
I mean, it was originally self-created, but this is now a new application, so I don't know.
And the condition of the property before, the prior existing buildings were non-conforming also. They from the existing the existing conditions drawings that were submitted, it showed that those buildings were very close to all the property lines, so they probably didn't satisfy the setback requirements.
Right.
Right.
I guess the question is, did the new construction make those non-conformances worse?
Right, and I would argue that they don't, because this new building is further away from the property lines than the previous buildings.
Right.
Get it better.
Well, then clearly with the drainage improvements, everything should be in better shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, having gone through those conditions and having reviewed the area variances, the 5 area variances that are required, would anybody like to make a motion to either approve or deny this application?
I'll make a motion to approve the application. This is Austin Side.
Thank you,
I'll make the
Austin.
motion. This is Kevin Scully.
Thank you, Kevin. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Aye. And that's everybody. So, yeah.
Okay, so thank you.
Okay.
We're good to go.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
And it
So,
was,
Mr. Mann, we look forward to you finishing up that house out there and getting the lawn mowed.
I will try to push the owner to do that. We just we have one item open. Actually, we're waiting for to get the road opening from the DPW. We just extended their permit. It had expired, and it's very difficult to get that. And I hope to get it in the next couple of days. So once we have that, then we'll continue with the construction.
Sounds good.
Okay, because it looks like it's pretty well there. I mean, the house is up, the structure's there.
Yep.
The siding, for the most part, is on. I don't know what the interior of the house, the condition of that is, but it looks like you need to do topsoil and grass seed.
Yep, we'll try to do that ASAP. So thank you very much and appreciate it for your time. And I'm preparing for my next one.
Great.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks, Joel.
Okay,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Okay. With that completed, that wraps up the applications that we have for this evening. Noreen has put together 2 sets of meeting minutes for us to review. We have the April 28th meeting minutes and the May 26th meeting minutes. I know she distributed that via email. Has everybody had a chance to read through them? Or would you like a few minutes now to take a look at them?
I've looked through them.
I read them.
I'm good with them. This is Austin.
Austin.
You know, obviously the May meeting had the original, the initial public hearing for Verizon, and obviously there was a lot of information. I read through, and Noreen recapped it pretty well. I don't know if we missed anything or if we, I mean, it's hard to remember if we got everything.
Yeah, that would be a tough one too.
I took a long time to do that one. I did do
Yeah.
a lot of summarizing because it was a very long meeting.
Right.
That's why instead of listing every member that spoke, I just did what they basically, the top 10 factors that
Yeah.
all mentioning and bringing up. I'm hoping those are legitimate minutes.
Yeah, Dave, we're not required to have everything recited verbatim, right?
Yeah, I
No,
thought.
there's no legal requirement for verbatim minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, Noreen, I thought you made a wise decision.
Yeah, no, you did a great job.
Thank you. It took a long time for those, but
Yeah.
you'll have more before the next meeting.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So taking them one at a time, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of April 28th, 2020?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 28th, 2020.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
the second set of minutes that we have is for May 26th, 2020. And that is also a long set of minutes.
Yeah.
Just think if I wrote down everything everybody said, how long it would be.
Would take us another 4 hours to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 o'clock again.
Okay. So having reviewed the May 26th meeting minutes, is there a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thanks,
I'll second the
Kevin.
motion.
Peter, was that you seconding?
Yes.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. With that being taken care of, unless anybody has any questions or comments, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Just, housekeeping. What are we expecting for Verizon? What's the next step?
Yeah. Are we expecting photos or, Photoshop photos of what that will look like? Because after we met that day, I went to Target and down to Home Depot. I could see that back one, the balloon behind the water tank. I could see that really far away.
Right.
I would like to see what Photoshop photos would actually look like.
And that's what they're supposed to be preparing. They're
Yeah.
supposed to be preparing, visual renderings of the antenna location alternatives. I think they have the one in the front yard that was the original. Then they were proposing strapping one to the tank. And they did fly the balloon for the one located in the rear yard. I don't know that they're going to give us a rendering on that, though.
Yeah, because that was the one that I was a little surprised at how far away I could actually see that.
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah,
it
'cause
at
that-
Target. I actually drove I'm gonna drive even further down to Home Depot. I still saw it.
So Peter, to answer your question from my perspective, what to expect, I like the fact that Scott had proposed putting the shot clock out into November. I thought that was really, really helpful for me. And what I would love to see in a perfect world is, we have them on at the September meeting, and, have a robust discussion about what they're presenting and, let the public speak and get everybody's input and see where we're headed. In advance of that meeting, perhaps I can get you a legal memo. So I know, Peter, you were looking for that.
Mhm.
And with them not having their ducks in a row to get up for this meeting, it gave me a reprieve to, from
Right.
having to go through and really prep that. But I am going to do that for you to give you all a better idea of all the different aspects of this, things that you should consider. And then, I forget the date. I think we put it over into early November for shot clock purposes. What I would ideally love would be if you have enough information to get you where you need to be to close the public hearing next month. If you do, and you may well not, but if you do, close the public hearing, and then maybe what I could do is give you a legal memo either in advance of that meeting or thereafter, hopefully in advance of that meeting, so you have an idea of what it is that you're considering. And then you can have an open discussion about it. And that would give me the next, 30 days into October to draft a decision, that meets the federal requirements, because it's quite a bit more robust under the Telecommunications Act than it is for a regular variance. You've really got to lay out the details of why you're granting or denying it, and with a lot of specifics. So it would really be helpful to me to have that extra time, and ideally, in a perfect world, come back ready for that decision. After giving me an idea where you stand at the next meeting, have a decision in October. If not, you could vote in October, and then I could do a decision, thereafter that embodies it.
Right. But how would we indicate would it be a straw vote that we would have to come up with to indicate to you which way we were leaning, or?
Yeah, I think that's the tricky part, Peter. That's, I'm not a huge fan of straw votes, but I do think it's important, particularly if I'm going to have another 30 days for you to then consider it, let me draft something, have that on your desk, have you consider it, and then go to the next public meeting and say, okay, we had a straw vote. Now we've considered it further. I've read the details of this. I agree with this. This is part of my motion. And therefore, now you're adopting that whole robust decision, not just the straw vote that you might take. Because what I don't want to see you do is actually do a random vote like you do on a lot of variances. Right. You just talk about, the 5 factors or whatever it may be, without having, and then me do the resolution afterwards to try to comply with the Telecommunications Act. I'd really rather not do that here.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. I found my way back into the.
Yeah. We see you, Mike. Welcome.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think, I guess the only thing that concerns me about next month and closing the public hearing, although I'd very much like to, I think we've heard plenty from the local residents, is that now they're going to be providing new renderings, new information, and, they're going to have everything to say about that. Their attorney's going to have things to say about it. My belief is that we're going to get we're going to come to an agreement on this. We're probably going to grant them the variances that they're looking for, given the best siting that they can do on that property. That's how I see this thing playing out, and I hope that their renderings make it possible for us to make a decision on what's truly best, what's the least impactful to the community.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Mike. I'm not necessarily there yet.
Oh, okay.
So
I think a lot of it has to do with the renderings. how trustworthy I know the renderings? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, because they could have done a lot of all this beforehand, and they didn't do it. It took us telling them to make these renderings where they could have just made these renderings from the beginning. They knew it was in that direction.
I mean,
It has been a long road because, you know, it was an incomplete package from the start.
Well, you know, also in fairness to an applicant, having represented applicants before boards, you know, you come in with a view that look, I've satisfied the, you know, the technical requirements, and this is where I want to put it. And I'm in front of a water tower, and you don't sometimes realize what the beehive is that you've hit. And, you know, you don't necessarily think about your alternatives. And I'm sure that they view themselves as having addressed the alternative locations, like are there any other locations within the town? What they didn't view themselves as having done is looked at, you know, the visual analysis and looking for alternatives around this particular site, putting it behind, putting it on, or if they did, they, you know, they really didn't want it, so they presented one. And applicants do that all the time, but now they have. I wouldn't hold that against them to say, well, you didn't give us all this up front. They have been responsive, and they have done it. Again, my job is not to defend an applicant, but I do understand where they're coming from. I've been there in the past, and sometimes you don't anticipate, and sometimes you're doing it as a matter of persuasion. But
yeah, I think
the point being, I wouldn't let that stick in your craw too badly.
I mean,
Okay.
we also
The one other thing that I think is outstanding is Tony Cardone joined us for one of the meetings, and he said that the town attorney was looking at 4 aspects of the application and the location of this property. David, did we ever get that feedback from them as to whether or not they had the legal rights to add that to the property? And
I did not see any.
We're having too much of a discussion without them, so I don't want to go down that road, but if you could just look into that and find out what
I'm gonna write an email to Brian right now, Verizon, and I'll ask him if he ever got the answers to those questions. So
yeah, they were also going to review a couple alternative sites that we pointed out to them. I don't know if we've gotten. I'm assuming Mr. Crosby's going to come back to us and talk to us about that. I would assume.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I sent you a text, Mike.
Yes, Noreen.
I sent you a text message. Did you want to discuss that tonight or another night?
Now I got to look at a text message.
Well, you don't have to. I can bring it up.
I'm sure.
No. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. The text message that Noreen sent was, how do we feel about the December ZBA meeting? It's scheduled for December 22nd, and I know a lot of people take that holiday week off. I typically do myself. You know, so just kind of wanted to, you know, take the temperature of the board, whether or not you're up to holding a ZBA meeting just a couple of nights before Christmas.
I don't care. It depends on whether we have cases, right?
Yeah.
I typically don't take that day off. We usually take basically the day after that off.
It was the 22nd?
Yes.
It's Tuesday the 22nd, so I guess Christmas is on a Friday?
I personally have no problem with the 22nd, but if somebody does have a problem, I don't have a problem with that either. I don't know what to say about that.
Well,
I have no issue with the 22nd.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be interested in knowing if we have any pending, you know, sometimes we have somewhat urgent things that we need to kind of get approved or not. So I guess it could be dependent on that as well. When do we have to make a decision, Noreen?
Oh, we would probably have to notice it, Noreen, what, 14 days or 15 days before the meeting?
Oh, okay.
Well, I guess we would know more by the October, November, whether we're gonna.
Right. Be busy.
There can be a cancellation notice the day of a meeting or the 2 days before. But
okay, yeah, I don't want to leave people hanging in the air like that. I'd rather announce it at our
So
November
assuming,
meeting.
depending on what happens next month at, like with day 6, And Verizon, I haven't seen anything else. I don't remember, is there anybody else open waiting for anything? I don't think we have any other applications waiting just for submits, do we?
I don't think so. We've just gone through a few and made a bunch of resolutions.
Right.
Cleared the decks, but, you know, between now and then, we may get new ones submitting. Joel
Right.
seemed to be mentioning he was coming in with another application soon.
I'll lose it on him. No, I'm joking.
All right, so
I have no opinion either way for December 22nd.
Yeah, I'm fine.
It makes no difference to me. If somebody has a problem with it, cool, I get it. But other than that, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm ambivalent to it as well.
okay, so we'll make that call, but for certain by November 24th meeting.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Next question. You have an issue if the secretary is not at the meeting.
Are we allowed to have a meeting without the secretary?
Yeah, I don't know. Dave?
I don't know.
Who's got somebody?
Who's going to take notes?
Well, the problem is, right, you need somebody to take minutes. Like I can't take the minutes. That's come up in another municipality where they've asked me to take the minutes. And I said, I can't, I'm not allowed to because now I'm a lawyer and a fact witness if anything ever happened. You know, but I think, you know, I've never really had
the minutes done off of the videotape.
I do 90% of the minutes come off of the video because I don't take shorthand and I can't catch everything that everybody says. But it's fine. I mean, if I was to do anything in December, it would be more local, I'm sure, because we can't travel anywhere at this point in time.
Yeah, as long as you could get the
My vacation the
information
next
video,
day.
that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. The one other item that we should probably discuss is, you know, moving back to town hall. Last month when we pushed this meeting to Zoom, I thought we were going to be, you know, wrapping up Verizon, and Verizon has really been the only reason I haven't pushed to go back to town hall, because every time Verizon's on the agenda, we have, you know, 30 people in the audience, and if they all show up at town hall, we don't have the chairs. When they do the 6-foot spacing, it ends up with maybe a dozen chairs in the audience. So we're not physically going to have the space to accommodate everybody. Plus, we have our consultant that comes in from, where is he, in Florida or Virginia? Cityscape? Yeah,
I
so
don't remember where they are.
I think they have offices in Florida and Virginia.
Last time they were
sure.
Florida.
Yeah. And so I'm not sure where they're coming from, but I mean, to have them at the meeting, if we don't do it via Skype, then they have to be here in person unless we just don't need them for the meeting. You know, have we heard enough from them? Are we comfortable with the opinions they've provided? And you know, the final meeting they do by way of a letter, and it stands on its own merit, because I don't want to spend money on shipping somebody in from Florida to sit here at a Verizon meeting.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, yeah, I understand the Verizon meeting was kind of in your face and a lot of people. But the fact remains that any public meeting, you really have no idea how many people are going to show up. So
Right now,
forbid,
Governor,
if we had a nonchalant public meeting and so many people showed up, what would we do if we had a meeting in town hall?
well, I would have to turn them away. So
You can't
they
have
have
that.
to come in. Everybody has to have their temperature taken. Masks have to be worn.
Okay.
There is a
But I mean,
capacity. I don't know what the
turning
number
people
is.
away is the big thing.
Exactly.
If it's
We just do a meeting, and can't we do a meeting where we show up, but everybody else is on Zoom?
Well, that's what the other option is. Plus, the governor has been extending public hearings to remain virtual. So the next time he's supposed to make that announcement is, I believe, because I was just talking to the planning board attorney on that, we believe it's September 5th.
Right.
They've been extended to at this point. So come September 5th, the decision will be made if public hearings go back to the towns. But with the large capacity, because we have a big project with planning board, the concern is how many people can be in the meeting room.
Right.
Right. And here we are on August 25th. So, you know, that's the great foresight that they have, that they haven't decided or announced one way or the other what's going to happen come September 5th. That's the way this whole pandemic's been rolled out. It's, you know, every week it's a new rule and a new law. So, you know, if I'm fine with that, going back to town hall and having the public virtual. I'm good with that. And I agree with Kevin. I mean, because I've been at planning board meetings where so many people have shown up that the hall contained them all, and they had to shut down the meeting because everybody, you know, entitled to access to that public meeting.
Right.
Yeah, I have no problem showing up for like what you're describing, we being there and the rest of it being virtual. I'm not a paranoid guy, but quite frankly, if 50, 60 people showed up, I would be very uncomfortable being in that room.
Agree.
I would be extremely uncomfortable. I have a high risk issue health-wise, and I would be very uncomfortable with that capacity of people. Plus, I'm supposed to be the one taking everybody's temperature.
And to the point where I would not want to be there at all if that many people showed up. And being that we had no way to know how many of the people would show up. As of right now, for the most part, I think the Zoom meetings have been going relatively okay. We've had some hiccups.
Yeah. No, I think
but overall, it's been going well.
I'm in complete agreement. I think for right now, there's all sorts of good reasons to continue doing it the way we're doing it with, you know, particularly while Verizon remains on your plate, it becomes, you know, unwieldy otherwise. And it's with a few disruptions like we had the one meeting and then a little bit tonight, it's well worth the safety and the convenience to be able to allow everyone to participate in it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so let's.
If we were able to do a virtual meeting where we were all there and the rest of the meeting was virtual, I have no problem with that, but I don't see a real benefit to that either.
Yeah, and then
you know,
we'd have to figure out logistics on how to publish that. You know, how do we keep track of who's the Zoom meeting and how do they see what we're doing? You know, how do you work that between the videos? And so it's got complications that we haven't quite figured out yet. So I'm okay with saying, you know, here and now that, you know, we shoot for September to continue a Zoom meeting because of Verizon being on the schedule and the unpredictable crowd size that we're going to have, especially as this thing gets to the end point. These people have been sticking to these meetings, and if they know we're coming to a decision point, they're all going to want to be there and weigh in on it.
We're all going to go. Yep. And God bless them for going. They should be going.
Yes, absolutely.
I had 10 phone calls. I had 10 phone calls in the last 2 days regarding the Verizon application. What was the stat? I said, it's coming on tonight just to be held over to next month. And then next month they'll be back with the rendering, with what they did with the balloons and everything else, because I got a call from their attorney and then I got a call from multiple residents. And I keep track every time I get a phone call.
Yeah, and I want them to be there. They should be there. That's why we do
they
it.
should be there to voice their opinion, but
goodness forbid we have a meeting and 70 people show up. And the room is packed. I would prefer not to be there. A normal meeting, that's fine.
the only other way to do it is one application at a time, but still too many people. Like when you see the one board leave, you guys come in, but lottery numbers, I don't know.
All right.
Okay. So, bottom line is next month we stay Zoom meeting. I don't care what the governor's decision is in the next 10 days. We can't wait that long to make a decision. So we're going to go with that Zoom meeting for the September meeting. And if we hear back from Tom Depew scheduling that site visit with the town highway superintendent, Noreen, if you could let us all know, and, you know, at least, I guess, a maximum of 2 of us can attend.
Okay.
Because it's not noted as a public meeting.
I mean, I can do it if all of you want to attend. It doesn't take much for me to do that.
I think two of us present would make sense, right?
I would just like to hear from the highway superintendent directly.
Okay.
You know, everything we get through the applicants, I'm sure we're getting a secondhand version of what was discussed.
Well, I'll also look and see what was done when the planning board had him involved.
Okay, yeah, because I don't have any correspondence from him one way or the other.
No, we had talked, I had told him to stop in to see me when I had originally sent him the file, and I guess he forgot, and it didn't even dawn on me till you brought it up tonight. I'm like, oh, I was supposed to talk to him about that.
Okay.
So I will look back also as the file for that one.
All right. So with that, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second the motion.
My wife, actually, my wife's coming.
I'll second that motion, whoever
Yeah,
made it.
okay.
Yeah,
So Peter made the motion, Austin seconded the motion.
yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Enjoy Maine, David.
Yes,
Aye.
and
Hope you get down to Kenny Bunk. Have a drink at Allison's for me.
All right,
Well,
that's
be
the spot. I
everybody.
will.
Enjoy the rest of the summer.
All right.
have some good lobster.
Absolutely.
Take
Dan's
care.
Clam Shack.
Okay, folks,
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
have a good night. Bye-bye.